Today we're going to talk about why being innovative is so important for a business. By the end of this video, you'll discover the urgent reality of today's business landscape and what you can do to safeguard yourself and your organization moving forward. By the end of this video, you're going to find out one of the biggest business challenges that no one's talking about. You'll understand why businesses and even some entire industries are going to continue to start failing. You'll also learn what you can do right now to start your innovation process. What you may not know is that businesses' life expectancy is dramatically changing. 50 years ago, the average business had a 75-year life cycle. Go back to 2011, the life cycle had now shrunk to 15 years. And right now, today, we're looking at about half that, around 7 years. Businesses have to innovate faster because otherwise they fail faster. All businesses are at risk for disruption if they decide to rest on their laurels. If you look at an organization like Blockbuster that gave up the opportunity to purchase Netflix because they were the largest of their kind. They had no real competition at their level. And so they figured they could continue on the same model that they had, when in fact you had a company like Netflix that was getting rid of some of that friction that Blockbuster had with their customers. There were no late fees. There were no going to the store and not seeing what you wanted on the shelves. Another great example is Yellow Cab. Yellow Cab had more data than anyone else to know that customers were constantly calling in after they called a taxi to try to figure out where their vehicle was, would they be on time. But rather than adjusting and getting technology for that, we had companies like Uber and Lyft that came along and filled that in as well. I think another great example that you may not have heard of is an AI organization called LawGeeks. Now, LawGeeks exists pretty much to replace lawyers. Like, that's not exactly what they say, but that's what they're doing. And a couple of years ago, they ran a study where they wanted to pin their AI up against some of the top attorneys in the country. And so what they did was they did an experiment where they had both the AI and a group of attorneys spot check NDAs, 5 NDAs. By the end, what they found was that the AI was not only 9% more accurate than the average of those attorneys in spotting the issues with the NDA agreements, but the attorneys took over 90 minutes on average, where it took that AI just over 20 seconds to be 9% more accurate than those attorneys. So let's pause for a second. How do you feel about this rate of change? Do you feel confident? Do you feel scared? Are you confused? Go ahead, jump in the comments. Let me know how you feel about this fast rate of change that we're experiencing right now. So the good news is that we don't have to just be victims of disruption. There are things we can do right now to take action. And that first thing that we can do is start to survey. We need to gather information. Right now, you probably have clients or customers, you have internal team members, and you might even have some partners that you can start to collect information on to see where they're seeing issues within the organization. So let's go back to that Blockbuster example. If Blockbuster really wanted to know where they were likely to be disrupted based on the friction that was occurring, all they had to do was talk to their cashiers in each store. And all of those cashiers would have said every single day they were having people come in angry because when they got there, the video or the game rental they wanted wasn't on the shelf. They would talk about how people were upset because they'd forget to turn in movies and then they were racking up all of these late fees. Now, if they had those two pieces of information, they might have come up with a solution that would have solved those things. And that solution might have been Netflix-like. Let's go to that example of Yellow Cab again. Remember how we talked about the fact that there were people that were probably sitting back waiting to know where their vehicle was? Why was it taking so long? Well, going back to that company, all they had to do was talk to their dispatchers. They had all the information about client friction, where they were getting those calls where people were saying, "Where's my cab? Where's my cab?" Or "I can't get a cab in this neighborhood." But rather than Yellow Cab or Blockbuster looking at these friction points and including those frontline people, oftentimes we stay in the C-suite and get information from company owners. And even if we're entrepreneurs and we have smaller businesses, the same thing goes for us. If we think that we know everything as the owner and we're not talking to some of the other frontline people, we're missing out on valuable information. So one of the things that you can do is start with your existing clients and customers and ask open-ended questions. So if you survey, it's not a matter of, are we doing a good job? Are we doing a bad job? But what would you like to see differently? Name a time where we fell short on your expectations. What is something you wish we could do that we can't do? Asking those types of open-ended questions, you'll start to see patterns in their answers. Also, make sure that you're asking your team members, your employees, especially those frontline people. So, as a speaker, I oftentimes speak in the hospitality industry, and I tell those leaders, I need you to get information from everyone in that organization. Yes, your management, but we need housekeeping, we need stewards, we need shoe shine people, we need everyone in that building because they're all seeing different things and having different types of interactions with our customers that we would not otherwise know about. Also, if you have any kind of strategic partnerships with other businesses, ask them about friction points when it comes to them partnering with you or turning over clients or maybe the way your businesses integrate. Are they seeing any opportunities for improvement? And again, phrase it in a way so that they know that you're not asking for praise. You're asking them to pick apart any little thing that they see that can be made better. If you phrase it as a gift, I need you to give me the gift of helping me make this better, people are much more open to giving feedback. Let me tell you a story about collecting information because oftentimes we think that what we need to do or what we need to innovate in our organization is based on trends we're hearing about. And sometimes we're not actually doing what our customers or clients want us to do. Instead, what we're doing is what our peers are doing. So now we're just cloning ourselves to make us more like our peers. So another group that I speak to often as a keynote speaker is financial advisors. And I had the opportunity to speak to a group of really elite financial advisors. And in our discovery calls and the surveys I sent out to a few of the top participants, I asked them about the things that were keeping them up at night, the things that they were concerned about in their industry, how they felt they were falling behind. And it was very fascinating because many of the things that they thought that they needed, when it came time to actually do some research and find out if that's what their clients were actually asking for, it wasn't. Some of them were saying that they thought that their apps should be fancier, or they were a little concerned because they knew that it wasn't legal for them to discuss certain things with their clients on social media, but they thought that maybe the next generation would want to be able to interact with them on social networks like TikTok. Well, come to find out, those were not the kinds of things that were important to their target market. So my company, we actually ran our own study. So not just asking random people on social media, we actually did a study ourselves where we found people, a random group around the country that consisted of their next generation of top clients. So these were folks that were between the ages of 25 and 40, making over $200,000 a year. And they had some investment knowledge or interest, if you will. And so what we found was when we put this study together, a few things that were interesting. When we asked them about how they wanted to get in contact with their financial advisor, how they wanted to communicate, guess what? Social media and apps were so far at the bottom, it was negligible. But in terms of what they felt the most important, number one was phone, number two was email. Who would have thought it? And then 3 and 4 were text and face-to-face. So what's interesting is while many financial advisors talk about how they're having a harder time getting clients to come face-to-face because since COVID, we're in this virtual world, in this case, it goes to show you that, yes, it's a little bit of a distance from those first two types, but it's tying with text. So just as many people want to see you in person as actually text with you. So that gave the audience a different perspective on what these people cared about. We also looked and we surveyed and asked people about if they used any type of e-trade services, if they managed their own portfolios, or if they used financial advisors. And what we found was that over 60% of that group actually did both. They actually used their financial advisors, and at the same time, they had another pot of money that they wanted to manage themselves, which was something totally different than what all the FAs I had communicated with thought would happen. And then lastly, most of them weren't that concerned about their FAs being able to invest in crypto and NFTs right now. And that included the group that was doing it themselves and were very aware of the technology. So I'm giving you this example to show that what we think our clients and customers want oftentimes isn't it, but we don't know unless we take the time to actually survey them and see what it is they really want. So now you understand why being innovative is so important for a business, but we're not even going to just stop there. I have a free gift for you. So the gift is my Future Ready Playbook, which is chock full of activities and worksheets that will have you future-proofing yourself and your business. Takes a little bit of time, but once you get through it, you're going to have a very clear direction and a great deal more confidence in where you're going moving forward. You can get it right now in the description below.